And it's with so much honor that I get to share my son Jesse with you today. So help me welcome Jesse. This one always pisses me.
I am excited to be here. I'm also thankful for another reason. I've been on my own for quite some time, quite a few years. And anytime I go on a date or I do something, I buy a new shirt so I don't have to press the other one. I don't know, I guess I'm kind of like a girl. I have a closet full of shirts and cowboy boots. And so when I get to speak, I get to go, buy me some new shirts. If you go to page 2 in the book that's been provided, there's on page 2, there's 3 areas that says write down your greatest trials or troubles right now. If you haven't done that, could you think of some really quick? Just some of your greatest hardships you're going through right now. Write down those 3 things. 1 or 2 that could be happening right now. One that's about 5 years ago or so. Maybe one from your childhood. And then underneath those 3, there's another box, another area there that says what emotions or how did you feel when those things came. If you could just look there and make sure that you have a feeling attached with each one of those trials or hardships. So we'll reference back to those in a minute. This post, this is a good buddy of mine that I went to high school with. We were cowboy buds in high school. December 4th, my surgery was on December 5th. My first surgery after I found out that I had a brain tumor. December 4th, we all got out to dinner. Another set of my friends have a daughter. It was her birthday on the 4th, and she was turning 2 years old. And she is the love of my life. I love this little girl. I'm Uncle Jesse, and Uncle Jesse goes out to visit her almost every day. Take her some candy or some soda or cotton candy, or we go to the park together. We all went out to get dinner with our friends, and I had just gotten the news that I had another brain tumor. And I was terrified at this point. Tomorrow I'll go into surgery, and I wasn't sure what to expect. And I get home after this dinner. It was very fun. It was emotional. It was hard because on it I didn't know what was going to happen. And with my friends and with the people that were there, and sweet Gracie, she didn't know why Jesse was crying at dinner. She wanted me to be happy for her birthday. My good buddy posts on my Facebook, "Only the good die young, buddy. Long live cowboys." Only the good die young, so am I not good or am I going to die young? Which one are you trying to tell me? I learned a lesson here. When we're going through hard times, when we're going through something, whether it be a divorce, whether it be a wayward child, people are going to say things. They're not going to know how to react. And sometimes they say the silliest things. But let's not take it to heart. They don't mean to hurt us. When my co-workers at work, when they joke about my brother being gay, and they call him all sorts of mean names, or they say mean things about gay people, yes, that hurts. But I get to choose whether to take offense on those things. They don't know what they're saying. They don't know what they're doing. A lot of times, these people haven't gone through these experiences, so they don't know how to react emotionally and to say things. In September of 2011, I had just purchased a new dirt bike, opposing what my mother had told me to do. I figured I'm on my own. I had just bought my first home in American Fork. Things were going pretty good for me. I was excited, and I decided I wanted to buy the new dirt bike. It was the newest, fastest thing out there at the time. All the bells and whistles. And I went to the sand dunes with my friends and my family, all down at the sand dunes, and my best friend, Gracie's dad, was down there with us, and we decided to race up Sand Mountain. And I was going. I was not going to lose this race. And at the bottom of Sand Mountain, headed up to the really steep part. We were going as fast as we could. We were probably going 50 miles an hour in just a short distance. And my bike, I had these paddle tires on it with big old paddles on the back of it. And one of those paddles caught a really hard part in the dirt and instantly flipped the front end of the bike up in the air, and I landed on my butt. And I compressed my back so hard I couldn't breathe for minutes, it seemed like. And I had this injury, and I totaled my new dirt bike. It was a good thing for my friend. We were able to do some things that he was able to see some new light. But this event, I broke my back. I had just bought my first house, and I had bought a fixer-upper. It was a pigsty. I lived in the garage because the house was too dirty to live in. I lived on a futon. And while I was fixing this home up, and now I had broken my back. And I'd only been at my work for about 2 years. So it was overwhelming. It was frustrating. I didn't know what I was going to do. For one, my dirt bike was broken. I should have listened to what Mom had said. I do better staying on 4 wheels than 2, and I've known this for a long time. So there I chose some emotions at that point, and I was kind of frustrated, and I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. Fast forwarding a short time later, November, I was just starting to heal. Once again, I went with the family, and I took my rock crawler down the Moab with my family. Went down there, having a good time, except I had these horrible, horrible headaches, and I didn't know why. And I kept associating them with possibly my broken back injury. I had had a massage several times, hearing that maybe some of those muscles being torn and ripped and my spine out of place, maybe that was causing my headache. I was doing several things. I, at that point, was unable to go to a chiropractor or someone to set me in straight because I was still healing. But I knew something was wrong on that vacation. Came home from that vacation, and I just barely started back to work on light duty. I was doing some paperwork. And so we finally went in to the doctor and had an MRI scan. I said, something is wrong. We need to find out what's going on. I had just started back to work. I was driving down Beckstead Lane in South Jordan City, where I work. Driving down Beckstead Lane, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I get off at 3:30. I was headed to the City Hall building for something or another, and I got a call on my phone. And I picked my phone up, and it was Dr. Mon. And he says, Jesse, says, how's your day going? It's pretty good, pretty good. How's your headaches? I says, well, not very good. I've gone through some Excedrin migraine today, several of them. And he says, well, I have some bad news. You do have a brain tumor, and we need to operate immediately. It hit me. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. When I picked up my phone, I was at a stop sign, 4-way stop. And I just stopped there, I don't know, for a couple minutes. A couple people actually went around me, and they honked at me, and I just turned my hazard lights. I'm a city worker, I can do what I want. So I can stop in the middle of the road if I want. I got to choose an emotion at that time again with another tragic incident. We all choose emotions on that emotion code. At that point, I was scared. That emotion. And we talked about the emotion spiral, how we either spiral up or we spiral down with our emotions. I made a turn on that road. I went down to the city cemetery where I work as well. On my job, I work there occasionally. And I knew the city cemetery, I knew it was going to be empty. It was 3 o'clock. All their guys that work down there all the time had picked up their mowers, their trimmers, and they were headed back to the shop because they wanted to get off at 3:30. So I took my truck down to the cemetery. I knew it was going to be quiet, I knew it was going to be peaceful. And I sat there for just 1 minute. not knowing what to do. I just taking it all in. But what happens when a bomb goes off? When something major happens in our life? When a bomb goes off, it creates a crater, right? It creates a big hole. So in our plan, our life plan, when a bomb goes off, it's going to look something like this. We're going to have a big crater here. So if we fall in this crater, this is where we get to choose an emotion. What can we do? Can we focus on something we're grateful for? This crater in your life is that trial. Okay, I went down to the cemetery. I wanted where it would be peaceful. And I got down to the cemetery and I thought, you know what? I know my family's going to be there for me. They already have. My mom and dad showed up. My brothers showed up. They helped remodel my home in American Fort when I had a broken back and I laid on the couch and watched Netflix. They showed up for me. My uncles showed up for me. So I thought, okay, you know what? I have a brain tumor, but I have my family. And I went to Riverton High School, so don't check my spelling. I have my family to be grateful for. Also, I realized I have my friends. My friend Chris, that was with us at the sand dunes, he did a lot for me. I have other friends. I had my coworkers. My coworkers did a lot for me. They helped me. They came and helped me at my house. A couple of them came and volunteered to help put in my sprinkling system and things at my home that I had to get done. So I have my friends. You start to notice what's happening here? Our crater is not so deep anymore. It's still not going to be easy. We have these things. And I was down at the cemetery as well. I've been down and spent some time at the cemetery. I oftentimes will do the services and things. And I realized that some of those people that passed away back in the early 1900s, where did they pass away from? Was it a simple cold? Was it something that nowadays we have medication and we have medical doctors that can help us with these things? How much misery did they go through that I don't have to nowadays because of the technology and the advances in the medical industry that have come? So I thought, you know what? I have a good doctor. I have something to be thankful for there. I have trust in him. So I realized I had a good doctor. And I thought about that and I thought, you know what? It's still going to be hard. I remember those images from, you saw the picture earlier, of the kids, me and my brothers and my sister, when I was bald and I had a feeding tube out of my nose. I thought, okay, so I have doctors, I have those things. It's still not going to be easy. I still remember riding in a stroller, a double stroller, because I was 5'3" and 45 pounds. I still remember stretching out through that stroller, walking through Temple Square, look at Christmas lights through Christmas. It still wasn't easy, but it was possible. And the more things you can think about to be grateful for, easier it's going to be. I have a belief in a higher being. I call him God. That may be for what you believe, can be whatever you believe, your higher power. For me, it was God. I knew God was there for me. I knew God loved me, my higher power. That's what I had to rely on. You notice our path is now much higher than we were before. At 9 years old, when I went through cancer, and I learned gratitude, and my mom taught me some wonderful lessons, along with my father, about sincere service, serving others, looking outside of myself. I grew. I was very mature for a 9-year-old boy. I learned some life lessons there, some very important life lessons. From the time I was 10 until the time I was 26, there were very hard times. There was deep depression. There was times when I struggled because I couldn't jump as high as the other kids. I no longer was a good athlete. Those things. There were times that really struggled, but I learned a couple things. That sincere service was huge for me. I learned how to be thankful for the things I did have. When we go through those lessons, let's take them, use them as an opportunity to grow, to better ourselves. Let's put ourselves on a higher playing field. Let's put ourselves higher up in the emotional spiral. I know for myself, a couple times, I came to doubt. I doubted whether or not it was worth it. After breaking my back, December 5th, finding out I had my first brain tumor, I went in. They cut me open from my ear here, across my forehead, pulled my skin, my face down, and then went in and did their operation. The tumor was right behind my right eye. As I was losing my vision, it was blocking the optic nerve. They went in, they removed it, December 5th, said, okay, benign tumor, it's easy, you're good to go. And they stitched me back up. I come out of surgery, and everything felt okay. I mean, I was in pain. It was not easy. But then, I got time where I could get out of my hospital bed. Started getting out of my hospital bed, and I realized something. Out of the middle of nowhere, I would lose control of my body from my hips down, and I would fall. For no reason, I couldn't control my legs anymore. I went kind of paralyzed. This went on for a couple weeks. I would get up, go to the bathroom, I'd stand up, I'd take one step, and then I would lose everything and I would fall. And so I had to have my mom there carrying me, and I had a grandma walker. And I shuffled my way because I never knew when I was going to fall, when I would lose my legs. I got to be grateful for the mobility of my body. For some reason, after a couple weeks, it went away. The doctors didn't know what was going on. They had no explanation at all. But I got to feel that feeling. I got to know what someone in a wheelchair feels like. I got to know that. I went back to work for just a few days in December, right before my birthday. I went into work for 2 days. First day I was miserable. Second day I blacked out in the bathroom, and my manager had to come get me and drive me home. I went in for an MRI, and the doctor said, "You aren't going to believe it. The tumor's back, the same size or bigger than it was. In 6 weeks, it grew back." And so I thought to myself, cowboy up. We get to go do it again. Don't know what's happened. So they operated again, did the exact same thing, just opened this scar right back up, pulled my face back down, removed the tumor for the second time, came back to consciousness after surgery, and I'm staring there looking at my mom, and she's asking me, "Am I okay?" And I can't hear a thing. I could see her mouth moving, but I couldn't hear a thing. My doctors came in. I couldn't hear a thing they were saying, and I was deaf. I had lost a significant amount of hearing. I couldn't hear anything. I turned the TV up as loud as I could. This went on for 3 weeks. I went to Radio Shack, I bought a little headset thingy that's wireless to your TV to try and hear, and I could turn it up as loud as I could so everyone else could hear the TV, and it was blaring, and I couldn't hear a thing. And then one day I was driving my truck down the road. At this point, I had healed enough to where I would go back to my own home, live for a little bit, and then stay at my parents' house when I was doing that. I couldn't help but care for myself. And so I was driving and got a little flutter in my ears, and then I realized Johnny Cash was on the radio.
Right on.
I got to hear the Ring of Fire. I was like,
Yes! Yes!
I got excited. So I called my mom. I said, "Guess what?" And they, I'm on the phone. And they're like, Jesse, you can hear me. It was a celebration. I went back into the hospital and I got fitted for some hearing aids. I still had a significant amount of hearing loss. I still couldn't hear a lot of tones, but I had recovered enough hearing that I could now be fitted for hearing aids, and my hearing could be better than it ever was before. What a wonderful blessing. But I got to feel again what it feels like to not have that sense, that blessing. I got to feel compassion for those people. I got to say, I can understand, and I'm sorry. Shortly after that surgery again, about 6 weeks later, I returned to work. I started working. I was working for about a week. And once again, every time I knew it was coming back, I'd start to lose my vision in my right eye. I couldn't see. It felt like a dirty contact at first. But I started losing my vision again. And I'm thinking, oh, man, a third time? Are you kidding me? Went back in, and yet again, we had another brain tumor. And this is all within 5 months. The broken back and 3 brain tumors. And I am stressing out. I had just bought my first house. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, how am I going to make my mortgage? I can't even keep a job at this point. Put the next slide up. You can't always choose your circumstance, but you can always choose your attitude. When we're in the pits of life, we're down in the hole, we can always focus on something to be grateful for. This isn't a tragedy in my life, this pit, but it fits the presentation. When we're down in the pits of life, and we're trying to get up here, we can always choose our attitude, choose things to be grateful for. My co-workers at South Jordan City, when I was going through these things, I was gone from work for a long time. A long time. And I had used all of my medical leave, my comp time, my sick time. I had used everything. And constantly, people donated their time so that I could stay off of work. They worked on weekends and things to help me. And I had to be very grateful for that. I had been on the other end of the spectrum when I was giving to someone else. I hadn't been on the flip side of that spectrum where I had to receive. That was hard for me. That was something I got to learn. That was huge. After my 3rd surgery, I came out of the surgery and I was permanently blind in my right eye. I can't see anything out of it. I once again was concerned. I have a CDL. I drive trucks and stuff for South Jordan City. How am I going to keep my job? I can't see. I've got hearing aids now. What am I going to do? And without a vision in one eye, my depth perception was off. So every time I went to pick my nose, I was hitting up here. Where I tried to eat my food and my spoon was over here. But very quickly, I got to be grateful for that vision. Some people don't have that. A lot of people don't. I got to be grateful for that. One more thing I got to be grateful for. That's really what helped me get through what I was going through, was that gratitude. I got to find things to be grateful for. Next one. Attitude is a choice. The choice is yours. The only disability in life is a bad attitude. So after that my final surgery in June of 2012, going back to work, my work was apprehensive. I had gone back 4 times now. My back, I had gone back for a short time, just a week or 2, and then I was gone with a brain tumor. And I was dedicated to my job. I love my job. And I like to say I'm a hard worker. And so I wanted to get back to work as soon as I could. After that first surgery, I showed back up to work just a couple weeks after a brain tumor. Still had stitches in my head and things. I showed back up to work so that I could do some paperwork and things. And then I got 2 days in, and I blacked out in the bathroom, and they had to send me again away. Then I showed up a 3rd time after that brain tumor, and I got to work for a very short time until I had more problems with my vision and things. I couldn't see, I couldn't drive, I couldn't focus with my head, and they shipped me away. So when I turned back after my fourth time coming back to work, they were apprehensive. They said, you know what, Jesse, you need to take a disability. You need to just go home. You know, we've got all the paperwork here, we can file it, and you can receive a good portion of my salary as a disability. They said, you need to stay home. For me, not for everybody, but for me, I knew that's not what I needed. But I had to prove to my work, I had to go to doctors. I had to prove that I could see. I had to prove that when I tried to pick my nose, I could hit my nostril, not my forehead. I had to prove those things to people, that I was okay to work. I had to go do these physical therapy tests. I had to show them that I could pick up a block, and I could bend over, and I could turn around in circles without falling over. And all this to protect myself, but also protect the company I work for. So, once again, the only disability in life is a bad attitude. It is amazing what we can do when we choose in, or when we get into that emotional spiral, and we start choosing emotions, the acceptance, belief, productive. When we choose those things, we just get to go higher and higher and higher. That spiral, that vortex will shoot us up higher than we can even imagine. So let's choose in, let's choose up. You never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have. But we're supposed to grow. If we don't grow, we become stagnant. So in life, if we're not continually growing, we become stagnant like that pond and we start to stink. We start to wallow in those low emotions, on that emotional spiral. We start to wallow in those overwhelm, those fear, boredom, jealousy, doubt. So let's not be stagnant. For me, my theme, or my creed, every time something came up in my life, and it still does, my theme is cowboy up. So I can remember that every time I have a trial in my life or a hardship, I look down at cowboy up. It's time to cowboy up. It's time to be the real, true me. My goal for you is for you to find your phrase, your rally cry, your creed. Mine is cowboy up. Yours can be whatever it needs to be. But when those hard things come up in life, you look to that phrase, that rally cry, and you get to be the best that you can be and focus on those positive energies. Thank you.